Hi. If I look like I'm about to die, it's because I am. I just got my second COVID shot and I'm feeling like actual garbage, so there's that. I'm starting to feel a little bit better, so I think what I want to do is I want to do a book haul. I do have, sorry, I do have one more book on the way. But I'm like freaking lazy and I just don't want to wait for it. And I have another book that's on the way, but that one is going to be like not for like August, not until like August I think it's going to arrive. So anyways, here's the bag. It's all from Indigo. Yeah, we're gonna dive into this beautiful bag of books. I do have there's a lot of different genres in here, so we're going to be getting some romance, we're going to be getting some like comedy, romance comedy, like rom-com, we're going to get some fantasy, we're going to get some historical fiction up in here, we're going to get like some sci-fi thrillers. We got like a mixed bag, and I'm really excited to be sharing these amazing books with you. I will link every single book that I mention in this video down below in case you were interested. Some of these are already very popular books and some of these aren't as well known because I don't want to just like limit my taste to what people are talking about on the internet. I want to be able to just you know, expand my taste a little bit. But anyways, like I said, I will link everything down below because, you know, we got to do that. So why don't we start with the first book? So the first book that I picked up, this is Marian Keyes. This is called Grown Ups, and this one is a little chunky. It's a little tiny chunky though. It's a very like little tiny book. This book is about a family. And they're called the Caseys. So basically they're a very privileged family and they have a lot like going for them. They're a very close-knit family as well, and they have a lot of parties, they have a lot of get-togethers, but there's a lot of like really terrible things going on like under the surface. So they sort of put on this facade of like perfection and, you know, this picture perfect all American family, and one of them starts spilling a bunch of secrets because she like gets a concussion and then she just starts like saying things that she shouldn't say, and the family is then forced to confront those issues and perhaps solve those issues and not keep them, you know, like under the rug type of thing. So I wanted to pick this one up because I think this will be like a really interesting sort of read where it's a little bit lighthearted, but you still have a little bit of seriousness in it, because it does say that it's going to be quite comic as well, which I'm kind of excited about because I do like to kind of delve into something a little more comedic, but also something that has a little bit of a life lesson to it. So I'm actually really interested to see how this one goes. Obviously, I will let you know how I feel about it because no doubt that's what I would do. So yeah, this is Grown Ups by Marian Keyes. The next book that I got is another like raw romantic comedy. This one's definitely romantic comedy. I'm not going to hesitate on that one. This one, it kind of caught my attention because it reminded me of, it's not Confessions of a Shopaholic, it's another rom-com series that I read like a really long time ago. And that's kind of what it reminds me of. Maybe it was also by Sophie Kinsella, I'm not exactly sure. But anyways, this book is called The Stylist Takes Manhattan by Rosie Nixon. And this book is about a London stylist. Her name is Amber Green. And she just left like this really terrible job that she like hates. And she's like, I hate this job. I want to leave it. So she left it. And her boyfriend Rob is moving to New York to produce a reality show because they're both sort of like in the same like entertainment industry. She's a stylist and he's like a producer type of thing. So they end up moving to New York, and this is kind of the point where Amber kind of navigates her life and kind of figures her way in through New York, since, you know, she's in a different city and she's like in a different like atmosphere because it's very different from London. Both are very fast paced, but like New York kind of has a different vibe for her, and she's kind of hopping between jobs and just trying to figure things out in her life. And I think this will be like a really interesting yet funny thing. And she sort of, you know, it's just like a nice sort of lighthearted, very easy read. I think this will be quite easy because it's about, how much is this actually? This is 350 pages. Yeah, about 350. So not too long. Like, I think this will be like one of those reads where I just kind of like read it in maybe like a day or two. So I'm actually quite excited to read this. I also really like books that have mixed reviews too, because this one also has very mixed reviews, because then I can kind of figure out like why people like it and why people don't like it, and then obviously I'll film and tell you what opinions I have on it. But I'm actually really excited to read this. So yeah, this is The Stylist Takes Manhattan. Then the next book, this one's another one that I kind of like, I looked at it and I'm like, huh, this actually reminds me of Confessions of a Shopaholic. Like, this is like a very sort of like a Sophie Kinsella book, or a what's another author? Because I read a lot of Sophie Kinsella when I was younger, and by younger I mean like 10 years old. Yes, I read it when I was 10. And my mom had this thing where I kept like finishing novels that were meant for my age, and I just like, yeah, she made me read adult books because then that way I wouldn't finish them so quickly. But it kind of reminds me of Confessions of a Shopaholic, because it's very like comical, and it's just somebody like generally struggling. This is called She'll Take It by Mary Carter. I didn't take the sticker off because I'm just really lazy and I don't have the tools to take it off, so please just ignore the fact that it says $6. I mean, this one also says $6, but anyways, this is called She'll Take It by Mary Carter, and it's about this aspiring actress. Her name is Melanie, and she is struggling through life, and wants to be a certain persona and wants to be something, you know what I mean? She's a temp worker, she's an aspiring actress, and she also steals stuff. So basically, since she wants to put on this like facade that she kind of like has her life together, she obviously she can't afford certain things, so what she does is she takes it. So she is a bit of a shoplifter. She's a bit of like a thief. And she doesn't mean to take things, just like she doesn't mean to fib about her career. So like she's putting on this whole facade throughout her life, and then she meets this guy that kind of forces her to confront those issues and really figure out like who she really wants to be in life, and whether or not she wants to continue on this kind of path of toxicity, or maybe just sort of go into a different direction where she is a little bit more honest with herself and the way that she like does things. So I think it's going to be like a very lighthearted, very comedic read, but also something that's kind of like grown-ups, where you kind of learn something and you see a lot of character growth. So I'm actually quite interested to see how this one goes. This one also has some mixed reviews, but like, here's the thing. Comedy books are comedy books, funny books are funny books. They got like their own like little tropes and like funny punchlines and things like that, and they do also have their own inconsistencies, and I'm just very interested to see how I feel about this by the time I finish it. It is also another one of those easy reads. It's less pages than The Stylist Takes Manhattan. This one's like how many? 295. So it's a very short read. It's a very like easy read, so I'm kind of excited to see how this one kind of plays out. So yeah, that is She'll Take It by Mary Carter. And then this book here is one that it kind of reminds me of Crazy Rich Asians, or the whole cover art is very modern and minimalistic, and the cover reminds me of Crazy Rich Asians because there's a lot of red in that cover, and I don't know, the art is very similar. I don't know if it's by the same artist or not, but like, anyways, this is called Family Trust by Kathy Wang, and this is another sort of comedy character development type of book. So it's about this family. It's an Asian American family, and it's also written by an Asian American author, which is amazing. So it's about the Wang family, and they are pretty like, the kids are very successful. They have jobs, they have kids. They've kind of, made their way through life, even though some of them are a little frustrated by like the fact that, everything was sort of handed to them on a very like silver platter, and they're not getting what they want when they want it type of thing. And the father, his name is Stanley, he is dying of pancreatic cancer. Like he's going to die. That's basically the premise, like literally one of the first things in the synopsis in the back here. He's going to die. And Stanley sort of paints his fortune as like, yeah, I got a lot of money, so like you guys will be fine. But then they realize that he doesn't have a lot of money, so now they have to kind of navigate, well, how are we going to deal with this, because clearly there's some mistrust here. And I think it'll be really interesting to see how this goes. I think there's going to be a bit of a serious undertone with this, but also something where it's still like very lighthearted, but also it kind of explores family dynamics and things like that and how those things sort of work. So I'm actually really excited to see how this one goes. Obviously, like I said, I will let you know how I feel about it. This one is also another one of those like easy reads. It's a little bit longer than the previous two. This one's 385 pages, but obviously, you know, it's still like a shorter read, so I'm kind of intrigued to see how I feel about this one. So yeah, this is Family Trust by Kathy Wang. And now we've kind of moved out of the comedy, romance, funny, lighthearted books. We're gonna get the next few have a little bit more grit to them, so you'll kind of see where my taste is going. I did just finish some pretty heavy books this month that I will talk to you about when I do my August TBR. I don't want to do a July TBR because TBH, I'm already like halfway down the list, and I just don't want to start like talking about books that I've read and pretend that I didn't read them type of thing, so we're not doing that. The next book is like it's kind of like a historical fiction, but not really a historical fiction, but like, because it kind of goes like into the past, but then it also sort of goes a little closer to the present type of thing. And this is written by a Iranian author named Nazanine Hozar. I hope that is how I hope I'm pronouncing this right. But anyways, this is Nazanine Hozar's Aria, and this is about a orphan who was found by a man, and this is set in Iran, by the way, and this is during the Iranian Revolution. And all of this is sort of, the whole plot is kind of happening during this time period. So basically this truck driver finds this orphan. Her name is Aria, that's what he names her, and this whole story is told through her point of view, Aria's point of view, and it's her trying to find her place in the world as like a child and also like a teenager, and it kind of like goes through her as an adult when she finally becomes a mother, and it explores the various dynamics of family and how, you know, she doesn't really know like her real family because she was just like found by somebody, you know what I mean? And you know, there's a lot of like quote unquote mother figures in her life that kind of provide different dynamics for her. Some of them are, you know, not very nice, but it's her just kind of going through the motions of life and just navigating everything, especially during this political and social unrest that is happening in her home country. And I just thought that this would be a really different sort of enlightening read, and I like to add a lot of authors of color and Indigenous authors into my repertoire. I mean, obviously she's not Canadian Indigenous, but like, you know what I mean, I like to diversify, and there's gonna be a few. I can't wait to read this. I really like the cover here, because I can use this as a bookmark because it's nice and folded and cute, and it is Heather's pick, so clearly Heather really likes it. If you go to Indigo, you know exactly who this is. Yeah, and I was like looking at some of the blurbs by like other authors on the back, because there's like little blurbs, and it's supposed to be like a poised dramatic historical novel with contemporary relevance, and then it's like a feminist odyssey, and I'm actually really interested to see how this goes. So yeah, I'm really excited about this book in particular. This one is gonna be like, this is a bit of a longer read. It's about 434 pages, so a little bit bigger, not too big, but like a little bit bigger. So I want to make sure that I dedicate enough time with this book so I can really like get into the plot line and things like that. So super stoked. I'm very stoked. So that is Aria. This one, I looked at it, thought it was really funny, and for whatever reason, I thought this one was going to be like a comedy book, but it totally isn't. It's more of like a sci-fi thriller fantasy type of thing. But I would say it's more of like sci-fi thriller TBH, but also like not sci-fi thriller. This book is an interesting pick for me because we're kind of, at least where I live anyways, we're coming out of the COVID pandemic like very slowly. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I just got my second, the title just made me laugh, I don't know, but it's called The End of Men, and it's by Christina Sweeney Baird, and it's set in Scotland in 2025, so you know, quite close in the future because we're in 2021, so about 4 years from now, set 4 years from now, TBH. And there's this mysterious illness that breaks out, and this illness only seems to affect men. Interesting. And I thought it was really funny. But anyways, it only seems to affect men. And men are getting sick, men are going to the hospital, men are dying. And this doctor, her name is Amanda McLean, she says that you need to be careful. This could probably turn into a pandemic. So I think what we need to do is we need to prepare ourselves. Nobody listens to her, and guess what happens? It turns into a pandemic. So it's basically just this whole historical account, a very like first person account of what's going on and how people are dealing with this. It kind of goes across different places too. So there's like little blurbs of like news articles. There's like little like tiny things that kind of document this pandemic and how it's sort of, you know, as somebody who's coming out of the COVID pandemic, I don't know about you, but I think this will just be a really interesting read. I know that there's another book that's specifically about COVID. I think it's called 56 Days that I'm also kind of interested to delve into as well. But this one kind of like caught my eye because it's very recently into the future, and I think that I'll have an interesting time reading this, and I think it'll be like a very relevant piece of literature. So yeah, and this one, it's not too long, surprisingly. Like you would think it would be like super long, super like, you know, there's a lot of character description, but this one is only like 383 pages. And then, you know, what's funny is that I read the acknowledgements, and she does mention COVID. The author does mention COVID in this, and that's kind of what inspired it. So I'm kind of interested to see how this one plays out when I start reading it. But yeah, I'm actually quite stoked to read this. I might read this next month, but we'll see. We'll see. I think I want to read it when we've kind of like officially like really reopened and things are actually like really reopening type of thing. I think that's when I'll probably start reading it, because then I can like kind of connect the dots type of thing, you know? But yeah, this is The End of Men. So the next book that I have here, this one, I don't know which booktuber was talking about this, but she said that it was like a really good book. I think it was, I don't remember who it was, but she was talking about this and saying that it was a really, really good book because it's a historical fiction. It's a little bit fatter, so I feel like I'm gonna be like in this book for a while, but it's a historical contemporary fiction, kind of going across like a few generations. So I kind of, maybe you already know which one I'm talking about, but this is Panchenko by Jin Lee. And it is about 4 generations of women who are kind of growing up type of thing. So it starts with Sunja, who is around like in the early 20th century type of era. And she moves from her home country of Korea to Japan. And it sort of follows her story of sacrifice and the things that she has to go through in order to build a better life for herself. and this sort of describes the sacrifice and the trauma that kind of goes and bleeds through generations type of thing. And it's almost like, it's kind of also like a reflection of the things that, you know, women go through and generations of women go through type of thing. It's specifically Korean women or Asian women. And I think this will be like a really interesting take. I'm actually quite excited to read this. I really want to see how this goes because I've heard nothing but good things about this book. I believe it has almost 5 stars on Goodreads, which is like kind of nuts. And this one is, when was this published actually? Because I believe this was published like quite recently. So 2017. So this book is about 4 years old now, but I'm actually really stoked to dive into this one. So obviously I'll let you know my thoughts once I start reading it. But yeah, this is Pachinko by Jin Lee. This book, this book is one that has been hyped. People love this book and people are neutral about this book, and people also are like disappointed by this book. Now, for me at least, I'm actually quite intrigued to see how this goes. The premise sounds really interesting, and I kind of like, when I buy books, I like to like flip to a random page and just like read it, and it looks quite interesting. I hope maybe you saw the cover, but this is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by B.E. Schwab. And it is about, the whole premise is inspired by Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faustus. If you don't know that story, I can give you a quick little synopsis because I've read it. Dr. Faustus is about this doctor, his name is Dr. Faustus, and he makes a deal with the devil, like this very lucrative deal of immortality. Now, spoiler alert, things don't go very well for him, and it's just like terrible and horrific and just like not a fun time. This one is a little bit different. So this follows a girl named Addison, and she makes like a really terrible mistake. She makes a deal with the devil that she can live forever. However, every single person that she meets is going to forget about her. So as soon as they look away from her, they're going to be like, who are you? You know, type of thing. And it's sort of travels through time and how she kind of like navigates her life through like being this figure that nobody knows. Like nobody knows who she is. Nobody knows what she does. Like people don't know her. Like they don't know her at all. And I think this will be quite interesting. I heard that the first like few pages gets like a little boring, but then you kind of get into like the next few pages and it's supposed to be really good. So I'm actually quite stoked to step foot into this. I think I might read it next month, so it might be in my August TBR. We will see. But I'm kind of stoked about this one. This one's going to be like a really good, I think this will be like a really good sort of historical Dr. Faustus inspired fiction. Mind you, Dr. Faustus is like a very short little play about like just terribleness. And Dr. Faustus was actually like a little bit of inspiration for when the video cut off. Nice. I think I was in the middle of talking about this. I was on the tail end of talking about it. So I think I'm just going to wrap this video up and then I'm going to edit it once I talk about the last book. But yeah, this is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I'm very intrigued to see how this goes. And yeah, like I said, I'll let you know my thoughts. And the last book that I have to haul, I don't have it right now, but we're just going to pretend it's here. It's called The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This one is like a epic fantasy, so it kind of is supposed to be inspired by the Iliad by Homer. Not that me myself have read the Iliad, because I'm not like that kind of person that would read the Iliad, you know? Although watch me as I eventually read it. Anyways, so it's about, okay, so let me just read the synopsis on Goodreads because I clearly cannot like talk about books clearly. So, a world divided, a queendom without an heir, an ancient enemy awakens. The house of Barathanet has ruled Enos for 1,000 years. Still unwed, Queen Sabran in the 9th must conceive a daughter to protect her from the realm and destruction, but assassins are getting closer to her door. Durian is an outsider at court, though she has risen to the position of lady-in-waiting. She's loyal to a hidden society of Mags? I think that's what it's called. Eid keeps a watchful eye on Sabran, secretly protecting her with forbidden magic. Across the Dark Sea, Tene has trained to be a dragon rider since she was a child, but is forced to make a choice that could see her life unravel. Meanwhile, the East and West refuse to parley, and forces of chaos are rising from their sleep. So basically, it's just a bunch of women trying to save their kingdom. Perfect. That is exactly what I had to say. That's all I need to say. But this one is going to be a bit of a chunky one, so I'm going to have to divide it into audiobook as well as physical book, I think. The book is on Scribed. I know that because I have Scribed, but I need to find a place that has the audiobook, and if it does, I will grab it so I can read it. Because I don't want to read a digital copy on my phone because I don't really have an iPad, unfortunately, although I'm planning on getting one very soon. But anyways, yeah, I'm actually quite excited to read this one, even though it's like a big one. But yeah, very stoked. Once it's in, I'm probably gonna get it started, but in the meantime, I'm just reading a couple other short books so I can kind of get those out of the way and then move into the big ones. But yeah, that is my book haul slash, I don't know, the summary of one book. Like I said, I will link every single book that I talk about down below in case you were interested. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.